Jack Bennett wiped down the table with quick, practiced movements. The dining hall of the spaceship Celestial Symphony shone with polished surfaces and elegant decorations. Jack kept his eyes down as wealthy humans and Zinthari aliens walked past him. The Zinthari were tall beings with pale blue skin and 4 slender arms. They moved with perfect grace and looked at humans with cold eyes. Jack had worked on the Celestial Symphony for 3 years now. At 28, he was neither young nor old among the serving staff. He spoke little and worked hard. His roommate hardly knew him, even after sharing quarters for months. Jack preferred it that way. The less people knew about him, the better. Tonight was different. The dining hall buzzed with excitement. Admiral Kazar, an important Zinthari official, was hosting a dinner for diplomats from 12 different planets. Captain Sharon Wright had warned all staff that everything needed to be perfect. The Zinthari value perfection above all else, she had said during the pre-shift meeting. One mistake could cause problems between our species. Jack nodded along, with the others. He knew the stakes. The Celestial Symphony was more than a luxury space cruiser. It was a floating embassy, a place where different species could meet in neutral territory. He moved between tables, refilling water glasses. The Zinthari preferred their drinks in tall, narrow containers that matched their slender fingers. Humans used shorter, wider glasses. Jack had memorized the preferences of each species on his first day. The music playing through hidden speakers changed to a piano piece. Jack's fingers twitched slightly at his side. He forced them to be still and continued working. "Server, more blue wine," called a Zinthari from the main table. Jack picked up a bottle of the glowing blue liquid and approached carefully. Admiral Kazar sat at the head of the table, all 4 of his arms gesturing as he spoke. His skin glittered, with embedded jewels that showed his high rank. Jack reached between 2 guests and began to pour the wine. That was when it happened. A human diplomat at the next table pushed his chair back suddenly. The chair hit Jack's arm. The bottle tilted. A stream of bright blue wine splashed across Admiral Kazar's white ceremonial robe. The room went silent. Jack froze, the bottle still in his hand. The blue liquid spread across the expensive fabric, ruining it completely. Admiral Kazar stood slowly. All 4 of his arms went rigid, his eyes, large and without pupils, fixed on Jack. "I'm very sorry, sir," Jack said quickly. "Let me help." "Do not touch me," Admiral Kazar said. His voice was soft but filled the room. "Captain Wright, is this the quality of human service? Is this what your species offers to the galaxy?" Captain Wright appeared at Jack's side. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. Today, however, her face showed clear alarm. "Admiral Kazar, please accept our deepest apologies," she said. "This was an accident. We will make this right." "An accident," Admiral Kazar repeated. He looked at the other Zinthari at the table. Humans and their accidents, always claiming that their failures are not their fault. A small device floated near the ceiling. It was a camera drone, broadcasting the dinner across the ship's network. Jack realized with horror that his mistake was being recorded and shared. "The server will be punished," Captain Wright said firmly. Admiral Kazar's mouth twisted. "See that? He is. The Zinthari do not tolerate imperfection, especially from lesser species." Jack stood still as Admiral Kazar and his group left the dining hall. The other guests quickly followed, leaving only the serving staff and Captain Wright. She turned to Jack. Her eyes were hard. "My office. Now." 10 minutes later, Jack stood at attention in the captain's office. The room was small, but neat, with a large window showing the stars outside. "Do you understand what happened tonight, Bennett?" Captain Wright asked. "Yes, Captain. I spilled wine on an important diplomat. Not just any diplomat. The Zinthari cultural attaché. The same Zinthari who will decide next month if humans are worthy of joining the Galactic Arts Council." She sighed. "The video is already spreading across the galactic network. The Zinthari are calling it proof that humans lack the grace and precision needed for true art." Jack swallowed. "I truly am sorry, Captain." Sorry doesn't fix diplomatic incidents. She tapped her screen. Effective immediately, you are demoted. You will clean the entertainment deck after hours. No guest contact. Minimum wage. Jack accepted the punishment without argument. It could have been worse. She could have fired him, left him at the next port without references. Dismissed, Captain Wright said. Jack left the office. The corridors were busy with guests and crew, some of whom glanced at him and whispered. News traveled fast on a ship. Later that night, Jack reported to the entertainment deck for his new duties. The large room was empty of guests. Tables and chairs needed to be cleaned, glasses collected, floors polished. In the corner stood a grand piano. Jack finished his cleaning quickly. The work was simple, almost calming after the disaster of the evening. When everything was done, he stood alone in the silent room. His eyes went to the piano again. The instrument was beautiful, made of real wood, a luxury in space. In the dim night lighting, it seemed to call to him. Jack walked closer. He touched the polished surface lightly. It had been 7 years since he had played. 7 years since the accident that took his sister. 7 years of running from who he had been. He sat on the bench. The keys were smooth under his fingers. He did not press them, just let his hands rest there. Once he had been Jack Bennett, rising star at the New Boston Conservatory. His hands had created music that made people cry. Then came the shuttle accident, the investigations, the blame, the looks from family and friends. It was easier to become nobody, just a server on a ship moving between stars. Jack stood up quickly. No good would come from remembering. He gathered his cleaning supplies and left the entertainment deck, locking the door behind him. In his small cabin, he lay on his narrow bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow would be another day of shame. The Zinthari had long memories and enjoyed reminding humans of their failures. Jack closed his eyes. In his dreams, he still played the piano. His fingers moved over invisible keys as he slept, playing songs for a sister who was no longer there to hear them. 2 weeks passed. Jack settled into his new routine of cleaning the entertainment deck after hours. He worked alone, which suited him fine. The shame of the wine incident followed him everywhere. Other crew members either avoided him or gave him pitying looks. The Zinthari guests who recognized him made comments just loud enough for him to hear. The ship continued its journey through space, carrying diplomats and wealthy travelers between worlds. Jack kept his head down and did his churchy. Then the ion storm hit. It came without warning. One moment, the Celestial Symphony was cruising smoothly. The next, alarms blared throughout the ship. Jack was mopping the floor of the entertainment deck when the ship lurched violently. He fell, sliding across the wet surface. All crew to emergency stations. Captain Wright's voice came over the speakers. This is not a drill. Jack ran to his assigned station in the service corridor near the lifeboats. The ship rocked and shuddered. Lights flickered. Other crew members rushed past, their faces tight with worry. What's happening? Jack asked a passing engineer. Ion storm, the woman said. Big one. It's messing with our navigation systems. For 6 hours, the Celestial Symphony fought the storm. The crew worked to keep systems online while passengers huddled in their cabins. When it was over, Captain Wright made another announcement. This is your captain speaking. The storm has damaged several key systems. We cannot continue to our destination. We will divert to Harmony 7 space station for repairs. A buzz went through the crew. Harmony 7 was famous throughout the galaxy. Built after the war between humans and Zinthari 70 years ago, it served as a neutral meeting place for all species. Jack had never been there, but he had heard stories. The Celestial Symphony limped to the space station. Through a porthole, Jack caught his first glimpse of Harmony 7. It looked like a giant metal flower floating in space. Each petal was a different section of the station, connected to a central hub. Once docked, Captain Wright called all crew members to the main hall. She stood on a small platform looking tired but composed. The repairs will take at least 5 days, she announced. During this time, most passengers will stay on the station. A skeleton crew will remain on the ship. She paused, checking her tablet. Our arrival coincides with the centennial celebration of the Galactic Concordat. For those who don't know, that's the treaty that ended the war between humans and Zinthari. The station is hosting special events, including an interspecies cultural competition. Murmurs spread through the crew. Captain Wright raised her hand for silence. This is important. Ambassador Patricia Carmichael from Earth will be there. She wants our ship to participate in the competition, since we have both human and Zinthari guests and crew. Jack listened without much interest. This had nothing to do with him. You're all dismissed. Check the duty roster for your assignments during the repair period. Jack was among those assigned to stay on the ship. He didn't mind. It meant fewer people around to remember his disgrace. That evening, as Jack cleaned the now empty entertainment deck, he found himself drawn to the piano again. For days he had avoided looking at it. Tonight, something pulled him toward it. He sat on the bench. His fingers hovered over the keys. Then, very softly, he pressed one note. The sound hung in the air, pure and clear. Before he knew what he was doing, Jack played a simple scale. His fingers remembered even after 7 years. He played a second scale, then a chord. The music felt like coming home after a long journey. Didn't know you could play. Jack's hands jerked away from the keys. He turned to see Olivia Garcia, the ship's entertainment director, watching from the doorway. She was a short woman with curly hair and sharp eyes. I don't really, Jack stammered. Olivia walked closer. You play well. Those hands aren't just good for cleaning. Jack stood up quickly. I should finish my work. Wait. Olivia's voice stopped him. Have you heard about the problem with the cultural competition? Jack shook his head. Ambassador Carmichael is in trouble. The Zinthari challenged humanity's right to participate. They said humans lack artistic souls. Her eyes flashed with anger. The competition includes music, and our pianist has Rigelian fever. He can't perform. Jack picked up his cleaning supplies. That's unfortunate. I saw you just now, Olivia said. You have training. Jack's stomach tightened. No, I mean it was a long time ago. I don't play anymore. Olivia studied him. Captain Wright is looking for anyone who can play, even at a basic level. I can't help, Jack said firmly. This is important, Jack. The Zinthari ambassador, Vexnar, is using this competition as a way to embarrass humans. And there's more at stake. Trade routes, political standing. Jack shook his head again. Find someone else. He walked away, ignoring Olivia calling after him. In his small cabin, he lay awake for hours. The feeling of the piano keys under his fingers had awakened something he had tried to bury. The next morning, Jack had just finished breakfast when his tablet beeped. A message from Captain Wright. Report to my office immediately. When he arrived, Captain Wright was not alone. Ambassador Patricia Carmichael sat across from her desk. The ambassador was an older woman with white hair and a commanding presence. Bennett, Captain Wright said. Ambassador Carmichael wants to speak with you. The ambassador looked at Jack with keen eyes. Ms. Garcia tells me you play the piano. Jack shot a look at Captain Wright. I'm just a cleaner, ma'am. That's not what I asked, Ambassador Carmichael said. Do you play? Jack hesitated. I used to. Not anymore. How good were you? The question hung in the air. Jack could lie, but something in the ambassador's eyes made him speak the truth. Studied at New Boston Conservatory. Before what? The ambassador pressed. Before I left, Jack said. He didn't want to explain about his sister, about the accident. Captain Wright leaned forward. Bennett, the situation is serious. The Zinthari are using this competition to push for control of the Orion trade routes. If they win, Earth loses access to critical resources. What does that have to do with playing the piano? Jack asked. Everything, Ambassador Carmichael said. The Zinthari respect art above all else. If we show artistic merit, they must negotiate fairly under the Concordat laws. Jack looked from one woman to the other. There must be someone else. There isn't, Captain, Wright said. Not with the skills Ms. Garcia says you have. Jack closed his eyes briefly. I haven't played in 7 years. The competition is in 2 days, Ambassador Carmichael said. Think about it. Jack left the office, his mind racing. He wanted to refuse. The thought of playing in public, especially before Zinthari, who had mocked him, made his stomach twist. But as he walked, he passed 2 Zinthari diplomats. They were speaking in their own language, but Jack had learned enough to understand. Humans creating art, one said with a laugh. Like watching a machine pretend to have feelings. The other made a sound of agreement. They are technically efficient, but spiritually void. Jack kept walking, but the words stayed with him. Something stirred in his chest. Not just personal pride, but pride in being human. Jack returned to his cabin and sat on the edge of his bed. The conversation with Ambassador Carmichael replayed in his mind. He had not told her or Captain Wright the complete truth. Yes, he had studied at New Boston Conservatory, but he had been more than just a student. He had been a rising star, someone the teacher spoke about with excitement. Then came the shuttle accident. Jack closed his eyes, trying to push away the memories, but they came anyway. His sister Laura had just turned 16. He had promised to take her to a concert on Mars Colony as a birthday gift. Jack had insisted on piloting the small shuttle himself. He was 21 and overconfident. The warning light had flashed. Jack ignored it, thinking it was a minor issue. By the time he realized the danger, it was too late. The crash happened so fast. Jack survived with only cuts and bruises. Laura did not survive. After that, Jack could not touch a piano. Each note reminded him of Laura's voice, of the music they would never share. He left the conservatory and took the first job that would take him far from Earth and its painful memories. Now they wanted him to play again, to perform before an audience of critical aliens. Jack shook his head. He could not do it. His tablet beeped with a message from Olivia. Entertainment deck is yours if you want to practice. No pressure. Jack ignored it. He tried to sleep but could not. The Zinthari's words kept coming back to him. Like watching a machine pretend to have feelings. Was that how they saw humans? As soulless machines? The next morning, Jack went about his cleaning duties. The ship was quiet, with most passengers staying on the station. As he worked, he found himself thinking about music more and more. Melodies he had once played drifted through his mind. By afternoon, Jack found himself walking to the entertainment deck. He told himself he was just going to clean it. But when he arrived, he went straight to the piano. Olivia was there, reviewing entertainment schedules on her tablet. She looked up as Jack entered. I was hoping you'd come, she said. I didn't say I would play, Jack said quickly. Olivia nodded. The piano is freshly tuned, if you change your mind. She left Jack alone. He stood beside the piano for a long time. Then slowly he sat down. His fingers touched the keys gently. He played a simple melody, one of the first he had learned as a child. The notes came easily, as if his hands had been waiting for this moment. He played a second melody, then a third. Jack lost track of time as he played. The music flowed from some deep place inside him. He felt rusty at first, missing notes, his timing off, but as he continued, his body remembered. His back straightened. His hands moved more confidently. He was deep in a complex piece when he realized someone was watching. Jack stopped abruptly and turned. Captain Wright stood in the doorway. Don't stop on my account, she said. Jack's face felt hot. I was just playing beautifully, Captain Wright finished for him. She walked closer. Olivia wasn't exaggerating about your skills. I'm out of practice, Jack said. Even out of practice, you're better than most. The captain sat in a chair near the piano. Can I ask why you're working as a server when you can play like that? Jack looked down at the keys. Personal reasons, Captain. Wright was quiet for a moment. I looked up your records after Olivia mentioned your talents. You were quite well known at the conservatory. There were articles about you. Jack said nothing. There was also a report about a shuttle accident, she continued gently. Your sister, I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about it, Jack said. Fair enough. Captain Wright stood. Will you play at the competition? Jack hesitated. I don't know. If I can. The Zinthari will have their best musicians, she said. Ambassador Vexenar is determined to prove that humans lack artistic depth. Even if I played perfectly, would it change anything? Jack asked. Maybe not, Captain Wright admitted, but refusing to try definitely won't change anything. She left Jack alone with the piano. He sat there for a long time, thinking. Then he began to play again, more deliberately this time. He chose a piece he had composed himself years ago, a piece for Laura. The music filled the room with sadness and love. Jack felt tears on his face but kept playing. When the piece ended, he rested his hands on the keys. For the first time in 7 years, the music had brought comfort instead of fear. His tablet beeped. A message from Ambassador Carmichael. Have you decided? Jack took a deep breath and typed his response. I'll do it. Within minutes, Olivia rushed into the room, her face bright with excitement. You said yes, this is wonderful. I'm not promising anything, Jack warned. I'm very rusty. But you'll try, Olivia said. That's what matters. She pulled up a chair, next to the piano. The competition is tomorrow evening in the Grand Hall of Harmony 7. Each species will present one artistic performance. The Zinthari are bringing their crystal choir. Jack had heard of them. Zinthari singers who played crystal instruments that responded to both touch and thought. They were famous throughout the galaxy. What would you like to play? Olivia asked. Jack thought for a moment. Chopin's Revolutionary Etude to start. Then my own composition. You composed too? Olivia looked impressed. I did. Once. Jack flexed his fingers. I need to practice. Olivia stood. The deck is yours. I'll make sure no one disturbs you. For the rest of the day, Jack practiced. His fingers ached and his back hurt. Years of disuse had weakened muscles he once took for granted. But with each hour, he grew more confident. That evening, Ambassador Carmichael came to hear him play. She listened without speaking, her face serious. When Jack finished, she nodded. The Zinthari will still claim their artistic superiority, she said. But at least we will have shown our humanity. Our humanity, Jack repeated. The phrase stuck with him as he continued practicing late into the night. The next morning, the day of the competition, Jack woke early. His hands felt stiff. He stretched his fingers carefully. His tablet showed a new message from Captain Wright. Admiral Khazar will be attending the competition tonight. Jack stared at the message. Admiral Khazar, the Zinthari he had spilled wine on. The one who had demanded his punishment. The one whose mocking face had haunted Jack for weeks. For a moment, Jack considered backing out. Then a new feeling took hold. Not fear, but determination. Let Admiral Khazar see him. Let all the Zinthari see what a human could do. Jack spent the day alternating between practice and rest. By afternoon, his playing was smoother, stronger. The music no longer felt foreign to him. As evening approached, Olivia brought a formal uniform for Jack to wear. No, Jack said. I want to wear my server's uniform. Why? Olivia asked, confused. Jack smiled slightly. Let them see exactly who I am. The time for the performance grew near. Jack felt fear rising in his chest, threatening to overwhelm him. But beneath the fear was something else. The need to play. To let the music speak for him and for all humans. Jack stood backstage in the Grand Hall of Harmony 7 space station. His hands felt cold, his heart beat fast. Through a small gap in the curtain, he could see the audience filling the seats. There were beings from many different worlds. Humans sat mixed with aliens of all shapes and sizes. The Zinthari delegation sat in a special section near the front, their blue skin bright under the lights. Olivia touched Jack's arm. Are you ready? Jack nodded, not trusting his voice. He spotted Admiral Khazar in the front row. Next to him sat Ambassador Vexnar, the Zinthari who had challenged humanity's right to participate. The Zinthari performers just finished, Olivia said. You're next. Jack took a deep breath. The last 7 years seemed to fall away. He was at the conservatory, again preparing for a recital. He could almost hear his old teacher. The music lives in you, Jack, just let it out. Ambassador Carmichael approached. She wore formal Earth diplomatic clothes with many small medals. Good luck, she said to Jack. Just do your best. A voice announced, representing Earth, Jack Bennett. Jack walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. The grand piano waited in the center. It was bigger than the one on the ship. Jack sat on the bench and adjusted it slightly. A murmur went through the Zinthari section when they recognized him. Admiral Khazar leaned forward, a small smile on his face. Jack could read his expression clearly. He expected failure. Jack placed his hands on the keys. The room went quiet. For a moment he couldn't move. Fear held him frozen. Then he thought of his sister Laura, of how she had loved to hear him play. He thought of the Zinthari who believed humans lacked artistic souls. He began to play Chopin's Revolutionary Etude. The piece started with a burst of energy like a storm breaking. Jack's fingers moved quickly over the keys. The passionate music filled the hall. Jack forgot the audience as he played. He forgot his fears and doubts. There was only the music flowing through him. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. His hands knew where to go, how to bring out each note. The etude told a story of struggle and hope. Jack put all his feelings into it. He played of loss and pain, of hiding and running. As the piece built to its powerful conclusion, he played of finding courage, of standing up again. When the final chord faded, Jack paused only briefly. Then, without waiting for applause, he moved into his own composition, the piece he had written for Laura. It began softly, like a question. The melody was simple but grew more complex. Jack added elements he had heard in Zinthari music, weaving them into his human composition. He played of his sister's laugh, of her dreams. He played of the guilt he had carried and the forgiveness he still sought. The music filled the hall with human emotion. Love, grief, regret, hope, all poured from Jack's fingers into the piano. He played with his eyes closed, lost in the music. When he reached the end of what he had written years ago, something strange happened. New music came to him. His fingers found new patterns, new harmonies. Jack opened his eyes in surprise, but kept playing. The music had changed, become something that spoke not just of personal pain, but of connection between different beings. Jack finished with a gentle, questioning chord. The sound hung in the air for a long moment. Then silence, complete silence. Jack looked up. The audience sat perfectly still. Even the Zinthari were motionless, their forearms at rest. 3 seconds passed. 4, 5. Then a young Zinthari near the back stood up. He put all 4 of his hands together in the Zinthari gesture of deep respect. Slowly, others began to join him. The applause started, growing louder. Humans clapped their hands. Other species made their own sounds of approval. The noise filled the hall. Jack stood on shaky legs and bowed. As he straightened, he caught Admiral Khazar's eye. The Zinthari official's face showed surprise and something else, a reluctant respect. Ambassador Carmichael rushed onto the stage. Her eyes were bright. That was incredible, she whispered. Look at them. The audience continued to applaud. Even the Zinthari delegation was making their soft, clicking sounds of approval. Jack left the stage, his legs still unsteady. Backstage, Olivia hugged him tightly. You did it, she said. You absolutely did it. Other performers from Earth's delegation surrounded him, offering congratulations. Jack nodded and thanked them, but he felt strangely distant. The music still echoed in his mind. Captain Wright appeared, her usually stern face showing clear emotion. Bennett, she said. I have no words. Was it enough? Jack asked. For the diplomatic situation? Before Captain Wright could answer, a stir went through the backstage area. People moved aside as Ambassador Vexnar entered. The tall Zinthari approached Jack. All four of his arms were held in formal position. "Human," Vexnar said. His voice was deep and musical. "Your performance was unexpected." Jack stood straight, still wearing his server's uniform. "Thank you, Ambassador. You combined techniques in a way I have not heard before," Vexnar continued. "The emotional resonance was most effective." Ambassador Carmichael stepped forward. "Does this mean you withdraw your challenge to humanity's participation?" Vexnar was silent for a moment. "The challenge is withdrawn. Your species has demonstrated sufficient artistic merit." The Earth delegation broke into smiles and quiet cheers. Vexnar raised a hand for silence. "There is more," he said. "After witnessing this performance, I propose a cultural exchange program between our species." Ambassador Carmichael looked surprised but pleased. "We would welcome such an exchange." Vexnar nodded. His large eyes turned to Jack. "Will you continue to create music, human?" The question caught Jack off guard. I don't know." "You should," Vexnar said simply. Then he turned and left. For the rest of the evening, Jack received congratulations from humans and aliens alike. Someone recorded his performance and shared it across the station's network. Soon people who had not been at the competition recognized him as he walked through the corridors. Late that night, Jack returned to the Celestial Symphony. The ship felt like home in a way it never had before. He made his way to the entertainment deck and sat at the piano there. He played softly, exploring the new music that had come to him during the performance. As he played, he realized something had changed. The piano no longer brought only pain. It connected him to Laura, yes, but also to something larger. Jack heard footsteps and looked up. Admiral Khazar stood in the doorway. Jack's hands froze on the keys. "Do not stop," Admiral Khazar said. "I wish to hear more." Jack hesitated, then continued playing. Admiral Khazar sat in a chair nearby and listened. When Jack finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "I misjudged you," Admiral Khazar said finally. "I misjudged your species." He stood and made a formal gesture with his four arms. "I withdraw my complaint about the wine incident." Jack nodded, unsure what to say. "Your music speaks of deep feeling," Admiral Khazar said. "This is something my people value." The Admiral left without waiting for a response. Jack sat at the piano, stunned. The day had changed everything, not just for him, but perhaps for relations between humans and Zinthari. Captain Wright's voice came over his tablet. "Bennett, my office tomorrow morning. 0900 hours." Jack wondered what new assignment awaited him. Whatever it was, he faced it with a lighter heart than he had known in 7 years. The next morning, Jack arrived at Captain Wright's office precisely at 0900 hours. He had slept better than he had in years. The music he played still echoed in his mind. "Come in, Bennett," Captain Wright called. Jack entered to find the captain was not alone. Ambassador Carmichael sat in one chair. Olivia occupied another. "Sit down," Captain Wright said, gesturing to the remaining chair. Jack sat, wondering what this meeting was about. The three women exchanged glances. "First, Captain," Wright said, "I want to officially cancel your demotion. You're no longer assigned to cleaning duties." "Thank you, Captain," Jack said. "Second," she continued, "we have a proposition for you." Ambassador Carmichael leaned forward. "Your performance had a greater impact than you might realize, Mr. Bennett. The recording has spread across the galactic network. People are calling it a breakthrough in human-Zinthari relations." "I just played the piano," Jack said, uncomfortable with the praise. "You did much more than that," Olivia said. "You changed minds. The Zinthari are actually talking about reconsidering their views on human art." Captain Wright nodded. "Which brings us to our offer. I'd like to create a new position, Cultural Liaison Officer. You would be responsible for organizing musical and artistic events that bring different species together." Jack blinked in surprise. "I'm just a server." "Not anymore," Captain Wright said. "You're a musician, a very good one, according to people who know about these things. The position comes with a substantial pay increase," Olivia added with a smile. Jack looked at the three expectant faces. A week ago, he had been a nobody, a disgraced server hiding from his past. Now they were offering him a chance to use his music again. "I need to think about it," he said. Ambassador Carmichael nodded. "Of course, but there's something else you should know. The Zintharian Royal Academy has extended an invitation for you to perform there. You would be the first human ever invited." Jack's mouth fell open. The Zintharian Royal Academy was legendary, the most prestigious music venue in the galaxy. That's impossible," he stammered. "Apparently not," Ambassador Carmichael said, looking pleased. "Admiral Kazar personally recommended you." Jack left the meeting with his head spinning. He walked through the ship, barely noticing the respectful nods from crew members who had seen his performance. In the following days, as the Celestial Symphony underwent repairs, Jack spent hours at the piano. He played old pieces and composed new ones. The music flowed more freely now, as if a dam had broken inside him. On the final day at Harmony 7, Jack made his decision. He went to Captain Wright's office. "I'm grateful for the offer," he told her, "but I need to decline." Captain Wright looked surprised. "May I ask why?" "I need to return to Earth," Jack said. "There are things I need to face there." Captain Wright studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I understand. We'll arrange transport for you on the next Earthbound ship." 1 week later, Jack stood in the transport bay, a small bag containing his few possessions slung over his shoulder. Olivia came to see him off. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. Jack nodded. "I ran away once. I can't do it again." "What will you do on Earth?" "Visit my sister's grave," Jack said. "Talk to my family, and then start playing again." Olivia hugged him. "Don't forget us out here among the stars." "I won't," Jack promised. 1 year passed. Jack sat in a dressing room at the Zintharian Royal Academy. His formal concert clothes felt strange after years in a server's uniform. Through the door, he could hear the murmur of the audience. So much had changed in a year. After returning to Earth, Jack had indeed visited Laura's grave. He had wept and played for her on a portable keyboard. He had reconnected with his parents, who had never stopped loving him despite his self-imposed exile. He had started performing again, small concerts at first. When people asked about his years of absence, he told them the truth. The story of the server who found his music again spread. Humans found hope in it. Several young musicians who had given up their art contacted Jack to say his story had inspired them to try again. Then had come the invitation from the Zintharian Royal Academy. A year to the day after his performance on Harmony 7, there was a knock at the dressing room door. A Zinthari attendant entered. "It is time, Mr. Bennett," he said. Jack followed him through the backstage area. The grand concert hall of the Royal Academy was breathtaking. Thousands of seats rose in graceful tiers. Every seat was filled. In the front row sat Admiral Kazar. Jack caught his eye and nodded slightly. The Admiral returned the gesture. Jack walked to the center of the stage where a magnificent piano waited. The audience fell silent. Jack saw humans and Zinthari sitting side by side. In the year since his performance, much had changed in relations between the two species. Before playing, Jack stepped to the microphone. "A year ago, I was a server on a starship," he said. "I had stopped playing music because of a personal tragedy. I believed I did not deserve to make beautiful sounds when my sister could no longer hear them." The hall was completely silent. "But music is not just for ourselves," Jack continued. "It connects us to each other. It speaks when words fail. Tonight I play not just for my sister Laura, but for all who have lost someone, and for the hope that different beings can find common ground." Jack sat at the piano. He began with the piece he had played at Harmony 7, but it had grown and changed over the year. As he played, he felt as if Laura was with him, proud of how far he had come. When the concert ended, the applause lasted for many minutes. Jack took his bows and left the stage. In the reception area afterward, Admiral Kazar approached him. "Most impressive, Mr. Bennett," the Admiral said. He held out a small data crystal. "I have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" Jack asked. "Funding," Admiral Kazar said. "For an interspecies music academy. I believe you are the right person to lead it." Jack stared at the crystal. "Why would you do this?" "Because your music showed me something I had forgotten," Admiral Kazar said. "That art transcends species. That emotions, while expressed differently, are universal." 3 years later, Jack stood in a large classroom. Students from 6 different species sat before various instruments. Some were human, others Zinthari. There were even 2 Rigelians, their tentacles adapted to play modified pianos. "Music is a language we all share," Jack told them. "Each of us brings something unique to it." On the wall hung 2 items side by side, a framed server's uniform, and the program from Jack's first concert at the Zintharian Royal Academy. They reminded him daily of how far he had come, and how an accident with blue wine had changed not only his life, but relations between species. As Jack began the day's lesson, he felt truly at peace. The music that had once been his shame had become a bridge between worlds. And somewhere he felt sure Laura was listening, and she was proud.